name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking to the star of Sports Night and West Wing, Joshua Malina, who also starred on Shonda Rhimes' Scandal and Inventing Anna, while simultaneously juggling arcs on The Big Bang Theory and Shameless. He has since transitioned back to his theatrical roots in such productions as Old Globes Theater's What We Talk About, When We Talk About, Anne Frank, and has a new Broadway show that opened in October to rave reviews and was named Best of the Year in lists by outlets including the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and the Wall Street Journal. So to talk about Josh's first performance in his play, which was on March 14th in Leopoldstadt, here is Joshua Malina. So I want to thank you for coming on and talk with me. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
So I want to start off really quickly. Obviously, I know that you're in a play and you've kind of jumped around. You do so many projects at the same time. But I wanted to ask you, I found it very interesting just to start off that you did multiple shows at the same time, running back and forth. So you had, I think I wrote in my notes something like you were doing Scandal, Inventing Anna, Big Bang Theory, Shameless, kind of running back and forth, transitioning.
Well, there was some overlap among those. I'm trying to think. I did some Big Bang Theory during Scandal. Basically, when you're regular on a series, there's only so much time you have really to devote to something else. So I really did the bulk of my episodes of Big Bang Theory after Scandal, as is the same with Shameless, although Shameless and Big Bang Theory overlapped. I mean, that's one of the enjoyable things about being an actor is being able to switch disguises frequently and swiftly.
Do you find that difficult to kind of jump from thing to thing, or do you, as an actor, is that something that is enjoyable to you to be able to play one character one day and the next day you're playing a completely different character?
Fantastic. I love it. It's one of the great delights of being an actor is getting to not be yourself for a while, which can be really enjoyable. And I savor. And yeah, getting to play a multitude of other characters is just part of the fun of it. I was just saying to somebody recently, I think somebody from camp, somebody I went to camp with, who was in Camp Leopoldstadt on Broadway. And I said, yeah, I was sitting backstage thinking about you out there and how I'm still doing what we used to do at age 12. Like I've developed zero, not at all. I still enjoy doing what I did before I was even a teenager.
That's
It's a lot
amazing.
of fun.
And I find so much kind of like happiness in that because I don't think all actors feel that way. I think, over time, and this kind of goes for everybody with their jobs, but over time, I think sometimes it's just not for you. You get kind of run down. But when an actor's like super excited and this is like what they live for, and then you get to do a million different things, it must be just so thrilling to be like, I'm an actor. Like I'm in all these
Yeah,
aspects.
I try never to feel jaded. I'm sure there are times when I'm not working and I feel cynical about the business and how tough it is. Um, but when I am working, I try to savor every moment. I was having this conversation. I have a dressing room mate backstage at the Long Acre Theater, Aaron Neal, who's a fantastic actor. And while I've done 16 performances of Leopoldstadt, he's done a couple hundred plus. He's been in it since London. And one of the things he was saying is he still walks to the theater every day and he can't believe he gets to do this play again. Like he has the best, he's a wonderful actor and he has just that exuberance about acting that I really appreciate and try to emulate.
That's so see, like I love that. It's so nice because it's not common all the time. And sometimes it's not common in my interviews. You can
and,
tell. You can tell when people aren't as excited.
and when I'm filming something, every time I walk on the set, like I can't believe how cool it looks, and like, oh, they're going to make it rain, and I still have that sort of kids wonder at the business that I'm in.
That's amazing. And do you find like, obviously you're in a play which I really want to talk about because I think it's very important. But in terms of television, I know this question gets asked all the time and it's probably super difficult to answer. But in terms of TV versus theater, because I know like there's a heart in both, and I completely understand because as a viewer, I have a special spot for both. So I know people ask this to actors all the time, but do you prefer one or the other, or is one easier to you than the other? Like, how does that process work when you're kind of deciding, all
Yeah,
right, I'm going to do a TV show next, or I'm going to do theater next?
that's really a great question, and without disparaging TV or film work, for me, it's more exciting to be in a play. It is more challenging. I find it more difficult. It's also just different. There are certain challenges of film work that are different from theater as well. But also as an audience member, like I love going to the theater. To me, it's supremely exciting to be with a live audience, seeing a live performance, and so I would give a tip to theater. That being said, I've learned that it's a lot easier to make a living in film and television, um, where the pay is a lot better. And really, I stopped doing theater for a long time. One, because after doing my initial play, A Few Good Men, which was my first professional job as an actor and just a dream come true, I couldn't get a second play. Like I just wasn't getting more work. And so I moved to Los Angeles where there was more work, and most of it was TV work, although I did productions in small theaters in Los Angeles. And then sort of the reality of being a dad and a husband and somebody who needed to earn money sort of uh, took priority over what I might have enjoyed doing more, and just the realities of having to make a living. And I became a TV actor for about 30 years. And then this past summer, I just did a play again. Like my kids are old enough. When they were young, doing a play to me meant daddy's at work every time you go to bed. And that just didn't seem like something I wanted to do or the dad I wanted to be. Now that my kids are 25 and 21, they don't need me at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're probably like, "Oh, go to work. It's fine, Dad."
Yeah, they're okay with my being away at that time.
So and again, like I find it just so interesting. So, and I wanted to ask you too, like I feel like this isn't talked about that much, but in terms of the pay disparity,
Yeah.
because I love theater and there's nothing like it. I mean, it's almost like when they say like there's nothing like going to the movie theater, right? It's not the same as kind of like watching it at home. And I know kind of people might argue one way or the other, but for me personally, it's not the same. You get an experience when you go to the movie theater. You get an experience unlike anything when you go to the theater. Like I walk in, I feel like I'm a child. Like when I walk in and I'm going to see something.
Couldn't agree more. I get if it's a musical, I start to get like tingles during the overture. I well up. There's
Me
just
too.
something magical about being at the theater. Yeah, I find it an
Yeah.
emotional experience even before the thing really starts.
That's exactly how I am. I remember I was going to see like years ago, I went to see Mary Poppins. And when I walked in and I sat like in the front, I did one of those like last minute tickets and I got to go in the front row. And literally it started. And I mean, like now I'm 36, but I was in my like late 20s and I almost started like crying like when it first started because it's just like an
I'm in
amazing
my late 50s and I
experience.
have the same thing experience when I go to the theater.
But why do you think it is like, and this is what frustrates me, and I don't know if you have the answer for this necessarily, but why do you think it is that theater is an art form that doesn't get the equal kind of pay that a movie or a television show? I mean, I know there's studios behind it and things like that, and that's why, and advertisements, and that's probably why they get more money. But why do you think it's such a disparity? Because for me,
Yeah,
I feel like if there was more money for theater, we would have so many more opportunities, so many more things to see.
I agree. I don't really understand. Well, I don't really understand anything. I've increasingly grown to learn as I get older, but I'm no expert, certainly, on the economics of the theater industry, nor the economics of the television industry. Um, I do know that there's something wrong with uh, the theater situation where its practitioners, actors, are having struggling. There, many actors are working and struggling to make a living, and then you look at the ticket prices, and it doesn't look like something the average person can even afford unless you wait online at TKTS or you get on the lottery or this or that. Theater tickets can be monstrously expensive. So I don't know the economics, and there are people in my cast that are involved in equity in the union and trying to get better pay for actors, and they'd be more interesting to talk to on the issue. But I know that something's wrong. Something is broken, both in I think the way we as a country maybe fail to support theater as much as we might. Audiences maybe don't support it as much as they might, but I think part of that is also the expense of a ticket and greater access for people to theater and to Broadway shows and off Broadway and regional would be very good. We should be doing more, I think, to cultivate our future theater audiences among our young people.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I do think the price point, and if you're not in the industry, if you're not a journalist like me, if you're just someone that's buying a ticket, you just assume you're like, okay, it's $400 or $300, whatever the case is, that these actors are making all this money. And I don't think people are aware, like, whatever the circumstances are, the cost of the theater, the cost to rent, whatever, where that money goes. We don't know, but it not necessarily goes into the pocket of the actor. And I think a lot of people have this misnomer, like, oh, they're on a #1 Broadway show, they're making all of this
Yeah,
money. It's not
no,
necessarily the case.
not
So,
necessarily at all.
and that's what I find so interesting and odd. And again, I don't know the reason either. Like, I'm not sure why, but I'm glad that there are people that are working and at least standing up for it, because I don't want theater to ever not be around. And I feel like there needs to be people fighting and talking to the union and trying to work out a way to fix that
Yeah,
weird kind of
yeah.
disparity.
It shouldn't be as difficult as it seems to be to make a living as a theater actor.
Yeah. Well, really quickly before I get into it, I have to, if I don't mention it, have to mention David Rawson, of course,
Oh,
for
sure.
the flip back to TV. So for Scandal, did you realize that David Rawson was going to be, first of all, did you realize, and I know again, these are questions that people probably asked you, but did you realize that Scandal was going to be as big as it was and that people were going to love David Rawson as much as they did?
I certainly didn't know, excuse me, how big it would be. I knew I was signing on to a Shonda Rhimes. He is the creator of the kind of entertainment and television that people love. So I knew there was a huge potential upside. She had cast me in episodes of Private Practice and Grey's Anatomy. And so I had already a little taste of being part of Shondaland and how fabulous that is. She's a great boss and she makes hits. So I was hopeful. That being said, the first season really didn't catch on the way we all hoped, and it ended up being a thing that really took off. I think around the second season, where with the cast committed to live tweeting the show and adding that element to for the audience who were watching live. Um, but no, I had certainly secret hopes that that would happen, but I was still amazed at what it actually turned into. And I didn't even really know what I had signed on for. I thought it was kind of going to be more of a procedural. By the second, third, fourth scripts that were so out there in terms of character and plot, and all of a sudden, Katie Lowe's character, who's like the new person at the firm, is torturing people. I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And so it was a delight to go on like such a wild ride that Shonda and the writers came up with. So yeah, every step along the way there were surprises about Scandal, and they were all delightful surprises. And it's the longest I've never had. I've never had steady employment for 7 years. I mean, that seems like something you could only just wish for. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just so funny because I look at Scandal in a way very similar to theater, and the fact that all of these characters change so significantly, like you just don't really know. I feel like with Shonda Rhimes' shows, specifically Scandal, though, after like the first season, I was like, I know nothing. Like, I thought I knew this. I thought I knew that. I know nothing. So it was like every season, I was just kind of like learning what was happening with these characters. And David Rawson changed it like, multiple times, like kind of like his thoughts, his opinions, his connection to the group. So all I know though is while I was watching it, the one singular thing that stayed the same was like, please just don't kill David. Like that
I
was like the
appreciate that.
was like,
I
please just don't
appreciate
kill
that.
him because I just loved you on it. But did you get like a theater kind of vibe in that way, that because her storylines change so drastically that I feel like it gives actors this freedom to play such drastically different
Yeah,
characters?
that's a very actually well observed point, because I think in television, in an attempt to get an audience that will stick with a show for years and years and years, some writer creators avoid a lot of character development. Like, if you already like the way he is now, I'm going to give you 100 episodes of him like that, and like there will be little arcs within an episode, but not major changes or huge developments. And Shonda, I just has a confidence, and she doesn't care about that, and she's just going to write what she wants to write and have her writers take the characters all over the place. So certainly, as an actor, that was a lot of fun. It did feel like a little bit like a theater company. A lot of the actors on Scandal have been involved in theater and come from that background, so that was nice. It's fun to have great, juicy, meaty dialogue and occasional long speeches like you don't get in most TV, but Shonda goes for all the time. And just also the story. I remember two things I used to be concerned about. One, like you said, I would be concerned that she was going to kill me off, because I was like, all right, now this thing is just a great job, a rollicking hit, but it could end any episode because I've learned that she's not afraid to kill off her characters. And so I would actually look at when we sit down at the table read, we'd get the script for the first time, and I would always flip to the end and just look for Rosen and see, like, am I alive? Oh, I seem to be alive. I'm like, now I can relax, enjoy this next script. And then the other thing I was concerned about is so much would happen in every episode. I would read an episode and I'd be like, this could have happened over the course of 7 episodes. Like, she's going to run out of story to tell. But that was something I should not have been worried about, because Shonda never runs out of story to tell. She is a creative factory and story maker.
Well, yeah, I had to bring it up because I just love it so much, and I do find such a parallel between that and theater. So, but I loved that character. You were so
I
great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
My God.
It was so much fun. I mean, one of the great jobs.
I loved it. I missed David.
I appreciate it. I miss playing him.
Yeah,
Sometimes I walk around on the street and just say, I'm the Attorney General of the United States, because I haven't had a chance to say it in a while.
I miss him. Yeah, you should. You should walk around with pride with that.
Just tell people. I used
Yeah.
to be the Attorney General of the United States.
When things were calm.
Yeah.
To me. I kept things calm. But I also wrote down too, and in my notes, and again, I've watched so many of the things that you have done. But I mean, you did Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later, Big Bang Theory, Good Doctor, Perfect Harmony, FBI Most Wanted, This Is Us, which I like. Again, I know you were like a car crash victim in it, but I have a very kingship to This Is Us because I was on set a lot for there.
Well, that's one of the reasons I did it. Excuse me. Some people have asked me, like, why did you do that part? Like, you didn't even have a name. You were a car crash victim, and you were in 2 scenes, mainly being a car crash victim. And I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have a precious approach to my career where I wonder whether is a role good enough for me or meaty enough for me. My friend Kevin Falls was, I guess, an executive producer of that show. I was a fan of it, as was my family. He said, we got a little thing for you if you want to do it. I was like, I'll do it.
Yeah, why
I don't
not?
even need to read the script. I'd be delighted to do it. So that's why you can find me on iCarly. That's why you can find me playing car crash victim. I like to work. And though I certainly, over the course of my 30-plus-year career, have occasionally turned down a role, most of the time, if you offer me a job, I'm going to take it. I'd rather be at work.
I know. And well, that's what I love. And the thing is that all the stuff that I mentioned, and I was still getting, I mean, it's so many things. Shameless, Inventiana, The Rookie. I mean, these were all big. It's not even like these are like little shows. And even This Is Us, I would have done it too, like a small role. It was a #1 show when it was out. I mean, so you're like hitting all of these major shows, like one
I'm
after
also, I
another.
want to say, you mentioned the show Shameless. I myself am shameless. And here's the way I got The Rookie was, I'm going to name drop a little bit.
Good.
Sarah Silverman is a friend of mine, and she sent some email to a huge group of her friends. I can't even remember what it was about a good cause or something she wanted us, but she, instead of BCCing it, you could see all the names and the emails. And it was a very high-powered list. I don't want to be super name dropping, but people like Will Ferrell and all these famous comedians and actors were on it. She probably would rather I don't mention names, so I won't. And so she quickly followed it up and said, please don't anybody abuse the fact that I made this mistake. So, being a friend of hers, I just immediately replied all and wrote, I need work. And
That was your answer? You really did reply all and just wrote, I need work.
yeah, I wrote to everybody, to this
Oh my
incredibly
gosh.
high-powered list that I didn't even really belong on myself.
I
And I
love
just
that.
wrote, I need work. And then she wrote back like, oh, you, I knew you were going to be the one who did it. But then I got an email from Nathan Fillion, whom I know a little bit, and star of The Rookie and many things, and of whom I'm a fan. And he said, hey, if you need work, I might be able to get you an episode of The Rookie. And I was like, hell yeah. And then I did it. And then I wrote back to Sarah and I said, I was only kidding, but I actually just got a job out of that.
I love that because I feel like as journalists, we do that too. Every now and then someone will send out an email and they'll forget to do that. And I always go, is it bad if I email?
Yeah.
They're on the
Well,
BCC. I'm like, and
I knew explicitly that it was bad because she sent an email to everyone saying, please don't abuse the mistake I just made. But I felt that I knew her and I know her well enough to abuse the mistake that you made.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's more of being persistent for something you love because whenever that happens on like a journalism type of thing, or if it's like a press, like, a press junket or something, they forget to BCC, like, everyone, we all do it. Like everyone starts emailing everyone. They're like, hey, so what are you writing about? Hey, what did you get? Hey, are you in the junket? And we all
I
try to
think
help
it's
each other out.
an enjoyable opportunity when that
Yeah,
happens.
and why not take advantage of it? And I feel like it's a group, right? Like you're all in the same tribe. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to get work. So
Exactly. I mean, I think probably
same.
most of the people on that list were like, "Who is Josh Malina, and why did he write this to me?" And I may have been blocked now by many celebrities.
I disagree. They probably all knew who you were, but I'm glad you got work from it. But I love like ballsy things like that because I think why not? Like we're all in the same boat, right?
And the sweetest thing is, it wasn't untrue. I did need work. I always need work if I'm not working. But it was actually very sweet of Nathan to say, "Hey, I think I can get you some work." He actually came through. Like, it is so rare in Hollywood. It's not rare for someone to say, "I think I can help you." It's rare for someone to actually follow through on that. And like, he did. He got me a job. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just like love that. And I could tell like just like how you're talking, like I could just see like if I saw that come through mine, I'd be like, "Oh, I got to give him something if I have something." Cuz you're just that kind
Oh,
of person. Like
oh,
I would
that's
like
nice. I
I got to give
appreciate
him
it.
something if I have it. So that's really nice that he reached out. And again, cuz The Rookie is a huge show, and that's why like when I was looking through I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like even if it was one episode, two episodes, I mean for the Thrilling Adventure Hour, you were in 8 episodes, like I was going, "Oh my gosh, like these are all big, huge things." So, how do you make your choices? I know you said like you don't really necessarily say no.
Mainly, I go, yes. Where do I have to be at what time on what day?
Is it just
Yeah, I
luck
mean,
that these come
well,
to you?
yes, I think so. I think largely, I would say, if I'm talking to a young actor and if I am going to be honest, luck plays a huge role in pursuing something as tenuous as an acting career. I have been beyond lucky, starting with my friendship with Aaron Sorkin. Like, if had not been friends with him prior to A Few Good Men, prior to the big break he gave me in Sports Night, and prior to the roles he's given me in film, I probably wouldn't be talking to you now. Like, maybe the biggest factor in my career is good fortune. So yeah, I think you're being dishonest if you think that if you maintain that luck isn't an aspect of a career in the arts. And I have been, yeah, I've been very lucky because I'm not in that vaunted, I should say, level of acting where I'm picking and choosing my projects and generating them. And I created this series for myself. I'm like, I would love to get to that stage someday. At 57, maybe it's not in the cards for me. So most of what happens is I get offered things, or I audition and there's interest, and I usually say yes. I don't have, I've been very lucky in terms of what has been offered to me. When I look at my career, there have been plenty of times when I've done material that I didn't love, and that's just sort of also an aspect of being an actor, where like, it's the rare person. I'm not Tom Hanks with a script of thing, pile of scripts that have been offered to me, and you take the best writing and the best role. I like to work, so I take it. I tend to take what I get, but the ratio of good stuff to bad that I've been offered is just remarkably fortunate.
Yeah, and it's so funny because the one thing that I find that's the most common denominator of all the actors I've interviewed over the past 20 plus years is that everyone downplays themselves as an actor. And they always go, "Oh, like," and I do agree. I do think it's luck. I think with a lot of things in life, a lot of percentage, a majority of it is luck, but I do think luck gets you in the door, but it might not get you past the audition, right? It might not get you onto the show. So it's still means you have to be a good actor, and you're a good actor. So I mean,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't.
what's coming to you
I
is
I like to take a shot at myself before someone else has the opportunity. So that's part of how I'm built. But also, I'm also just, I try to be honest. I have lots of friends who are as talented or more talented than I am, and many of them, most of them, all of them, haven't had the good fortune that I've had. So I know lots of people have had a harder time in the industry that I just literally think like, you're more versatile than I am, or you're able to do things that I'm not. But I've gotten some opportunities that you haven't, and that's, I find that heartbreaking for other people. I do have a confidence. I do think I'm good. I won't sit here and be like I'm so terrible, but I managed to have a career. Like I do agree with you. Once I don't think I would have worked for Aaron over the course of as many years as I have if he didn't like what I was doing. So I do have a confidence, and I think you have to have some confidence and belief in yourself. But I'm also just realistic about what the amount of good fortune that has come my way.
Well, you're a humble and a really good guy. That's what it is.
Thank you.
But I mean, the projects have been amazing and you've been amazing in all of them. I mean, I've never really watched you and been like, oh, that was a bit, because
I
that happens.
appreciate that. But I guess is you could do a deep dive and find some moments.
No, I love everything you do. So I disagree.
Thank
I
you.
love everything you do. But let's talk about the play now. So obviously, this is very recent, right? Like, you kind of have stepped into like a brand new role in a play that someone else I think was playing first, and they're
David Krumholtz was the original, excuse me, on Broadway, played the role of Hermann Merz, the wealthy Viennese textile factory owner in turn of the century Vienna, Austria, and was wonderful. And I saw him in the play, I think, 5 times. And I'm sure stole everything I could from his fantastic performance before I then attempted to make the role mine. But yeah, he left March 12th, and March 14th, I took over the role.
So, can you talk to me a little bit for people that might not know about the play? I mean, the play was named like one of the best of the year, or was like on the best
Yeah,
year
by the New York
back
Times.
in
That's true.
October. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. So, what is this play about? And I've seen some clips and stuff. Like, I want to come and see it so bad, but I've
Please
seen
do.
some clips. I mean, it's funny. I think
It
it's
really is.
full for right now for some of the things that are going on, and I think the discussions of what I've seen are very important. So, can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what the
I'm
play is?
glad that you said funny too, because occasionally I think people have a misapprehension. The play is painful and it's powerful and it's emotional and there is great tragedy in it, but there's also great joy and love and celebration and friendship. It's about the fates of a large intermarried, which is to say interfaith, Jewish and non-Jewish family. It starts in 1899 Vienna in Austria, and revisits this family and what happens to them, their fortunes over the course of almost 60 years. It's an amazing piece of writing by Tom Stoppard, one of my favorite playwrights. And I think arguably maybe the greatest living playwright that we've got. So this is another piece of like unbelievable good fortune. Like I wake up in the morning and I always have a moment where I'm like, oh, I am in this play. That wasn't a dream. This is actually reality, and I get to do the play again tonight. Um, it's a great, big, sweeping human family drama, and I'm really thrilled and proud to be part of it. And it's playing only through July 2nd, so if you can get yourself to New York to see it, people, please do.
I know, because and it looks, and again, I think it's so topical for the climate that we're living in because it's a family that struggles, and from what I've seen, and I do find it funny. Like there are a lot of parts that are very funny, especially in with the I don't want to give anything away that I've seen, but I guess like with the I'll say with the Christmas tree, like things
Yes.
related to those scenes are very funny. I mean, so there's a
Yeah.
lot of funny things because it's combining faiths, or how do you combine faiths, or how do you be like your father but also want to be like your mother, and like how do you work all of this out? And there's a lot of discussion and communication, things that we don't see, that we could kind of use today. So I feel like you must walk out of that theater going, man, like there's so many things to think about because there's so many
Yeah.
topics you guys cover.
Oh, I mean, and Stoppard himself is just a brilliant man, and without the play feeling in any way like a history lesson, there's a lot of history in it, and there are a lot of deep, significant ideas. And my character Hermann Merz is kind of the patriarch of this large family. Is Was born a Jew, has converted to Catholicism so that he could be more upwardly mobile in the cultural and artistic world of Vienna at the turn of the century. But he still has a deep identity that is Jewish and that he struggles with. And we watch him and we see that he's mistaking how good he thinks Jews seem to have it in the society that he's in. And if you know a little history, you have a sense of where things might happen for some of the people in this family. And it's easy to sort of judge a character like Herman for not seeing what was coming. But it's not so easy to live in the moment and see what's coming. I mean, think about what the world has been through in the past 4, 5, 6 years. And I think this play about faith and identity and anti-Semitism has also universal. Um, um, it has universal appeal because anti-Semitism and racism and homophobia and all kinds of hate are still with us, and we don't really know where the sweep of history is going to take us. And so maybe you look at someone like Herman and think him a fool because he feels so secure in society, or maybe you walk out of the theater and say, maybe I feel more secure than I should. Maybe there are things that I should be more concerned about, and you just walk out maybe with a new consciousness.
Well, and that's what I love so much about it because like I said, it's topical. There are a lot of these issues going on right now. Um, but I find it interesting because it is topical. There's so many things going on that are very relevant and relate to it, right? But it is a tragedy, and like I said, it is funny, but it is sad that you don't have the foresight, right? So we're sitting there and we have the foresight of what's to come, and just kind of what you said, in the past 4 to 5, 6 years, whatever, we didn't have the foresight of what to come. So I feel like you could relate to him because we're in the same position, and I agree with you. I think that you'll walk out going, "Am I not thinking where the long-term effect of where we are and what's happening?" But what I love the most is the constant kind of religious turmoil, like trying to figure out where they should be and what's Jewish enough and not Jewish enough and what does this mean in society, and all of those kind of like things. Why was it important for you to kind of represent that at a time right now where I think is critical in terms of faith happening in the world?
Well, Patrick Marber, the director, who's fantastic, uh, told me at one point after I accepted the offer to do the play, he said, if you hadn't accepted and there was no time, I wasn't going to do a Tom Stoppard play. I didn't even need to read it. I mean, I read it, I was blown away. But if you had just told me Tom Stoppard has written a play and wants to give you a role in it, I would have signed on immediately. But he said, if you said that you weren't interested or you didn't think you were up to it or whatever, I was going to tell you it's your responsibility to take this part. And I get what he means. I mean, I have a deep Jewish identity. I don't struggle in the way that my character Herman does. Um, and so it's particularly meaningful to me to be doing a play. And again, I think it would be too reductive to call the play a Jewish play or a Holocaust play. It really isn't either of those things. It is a play of universal appeal that is set in Vienna, involves an intermarried family, but exploring Jewish identity or faith identity and familial identity and relationships with family is something that is meaningful to me, and it's treated so well, and it's explored so beautifully in the play that it's just a thrill for me to be part of it. I mean, if you had told me, I saw my first Tom Stoppard play, The Real Thing, in 1984, way back when I was 18 years old, and I was blown away by his writing. Um, and if you had told the 18-year-old me, like essentially 40 years from now, you're going to appear in a play by this playwright that has 38 actors and that explores what it means to be a Jew and what the identity and connection to your faith and to your ancestors and to your family is, I would have been like, that's probably not going to happen. So I mean, on a very real level, this is a dream job that I'm living.
Yeah, and to me, it's important to me personally as well. And also, I think in terms of there's nothing else like it that's happening right now. And I think the last one that I could really compare it to in a sense of where it's like family and not really necessarily maybe turmoil in terms of faith, but in terms of family conversations, different ideals, things like that would be like Fiddler on the Roof, which is like the one that I kind of compared to the most in terms of what the family kind of goes through. And again, I agree that I would not peg it as like a Jewish thing, play to go to, but it's a play that deals with, like you said, multiple faiths, family, and very specific about this family and the different ideals that they have and the different stances. And everyone kind of stands at a different position. And how do they work it out? And that's
Yeah.
what I find so interesting.
And amazingly, in addition to Fiddler, I would mention another play that is brand new, and that it's like a crazy coincidence, but the play I did prior to this was this past summer, and that was the first play I had done in about 30 years. And that's a play called What We Talk About When We Talk About Anne Frank by Nathan Englander, who's
Mhm.
also one of my favorite writers. I knew him as a novelist. I'm not sure I knew that he wrote plays. And then before the pandemic, I got sent this script for a play that he had written based on his short story of the same name. That collection was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. Like, he's a major, major writer. And I was thrilled to read something by him that might have a role for me. And then I read that, and it has shares some real DNA. It's very different tonally. It's
Mhm.
set contemporary, well, set in 2019, but it's obviously a contemporary play. It's filled with big laughs, although it also takes on big themes that are very similar to those that Stoppard deals with in Leopoldstadt, themes of faith and identity and family and friendship. And it's about two Jewish couples that haven't seen each other in 20 years, and one's very religious and the other isn't. So amazingly, I've done two plays in the past 7 months that are beautiful and universal and played well, as well to a non-Jewish audience as a Jewish audience, but that spoke to me as a Jewish actor very, very deeply. I feel like I'm just astonishingly lucky to have had these two opportunities.
By the way, I saw that play.
Oh, you
I
did?
cried during that play, but I was laughing. I mean, there were like a few like humorous moments throughout it, and I think that kind of just summarizes you as a person. I think like you're funny, you're excited, but there was so much passion in that play,
Oh,
and
such a
I
great
have
piece of writing. Nathan
it was
Englander is
so
a
good.
brilliant writer.
There was so much passion in it, and I just remember when I came to see it, because all of these things are important to me. I clearly am Jewish, so like all of these things I treasure because I think people think like we get shown so much and we don't. So um,
No, our stories are not
we're not,
so as
yeah.
widely told, and usually if they're told, it's the same sort of hackneyed kind of cliches about Jews. These are two substantive looks at what it means to be Jewish.
Well, I loved it so much because I loved when you find out that they haven't seen each other for so long and then they come together and like how different the two have been over the course of the 20 years and then trying to reconnect and all that stuff. But I will say I was extremely like towards the end, I was very emotional. And I remember just leaving going, like I just felt different. Like I walked out and I was just like, wow, like that just I don't know, just like hit
That's
you very
that's
hard.
like the ultimate thing to hear as somebody who's involved in a play, that anybody would walk out feeling different. That's what that's I feel like that's essentially the bar. You just want to affect people, and this one feels horrified, and this one feels elated, and this one's happier, and this one's sad. But just to feel something, and it's especially part of something that can do that.
Yeah, and I went with a friend that is not Jewish, so for people and that person came out and it was very interesting. I came out feeling like a bag, like a emotions like just fully mixed, right? And they came out and they were upset. They were upset that they were not aware of certain
Huh.
things and they felt like they learned a lot and then they wanted more stuff and then I was getting asked a lot of questions and then some things I didn't know and I was like, "Well, I have to look that up too." And like, I don't know, like I'll have to get back to you. And so we both kind of came out different in terms of our view of it, but we both came out changed by it. And by the way, we still talk about it. Even though it wasn't that long ago, we still talk about it. It was such a good play.
That
You were
makes
fantastic.
my day to hear, and I will tell Nathan Englander that, because
Oh,
I'm in
so
touch with
good.
him just because I love him. He's the sweetest, funniest, smartest guy in the room. But I'm also desperate to do the play again. So I'm hoping that we did it in San Diego. That was the world premiere. I'm hoping I'll get to play that role again in that play because it's a very special piece.
Yeah, I love that. And like and for it to be in New York would be amazing.
I think so too. I think it would be a great play for New York.
Yeah, I'm based out of New York, but I fly back and forth. So when I was out in California, I was like, I drove the 4 hours because I was in LA. So I drove the 4 hours to come see it. But I was like, or
Appreciate it.
hours or something like that. But I was like, I have to go see it. So
Thanks for coming.
of course, and congratulations because it was so good,
Thank
so
you.
good. Like everything you do. But I just want to do a shout out to that. So if anyone ever sees that play around too, go check it out because I mean it's life altering no matter what you like, what religion you are, and it's kind of irrelevant. It's more of just
And it's not about Anne Frank.
No, and
Not
it's
that,
not.
and not that watching something about Anne Frank is bad, or you might. I'm just saying, if you've seen the Diary of Anne Frank, don't think that you're going. What is this, part
Yeah,
two?
it's not like the
Like, it has,
typical kind of thing that you might be assuming.
yeah.
It's all like a lot of it's new too. A lot of it, even like you could be Jewish and walk out, and there were some things I didn't even know. So like, there's things. It's just I think it's for everyone, just like this play, and it's something where you're gonna walk out and everyone takes something from it, regardless of your
Well
background,
said.
regardless of your faith, whatever the case is. But I'm to come back to this play, which I'm like, cross my fingers I get in before you guys finish, which I know it even extended because people are so in love with this play. But you've been doing it. So today's the 28th. You start on the 14th.
I've
So
done
what
16 performances,
crazy. So what has
2 weeks
that
in.
experience been like now that you're 2 weeks into the play? How do you feel? Like,
Um,
how do you feel from like, I guess, getting the role to like now? Like, how has things kind of changed for you?
yeah, getting the role was super exciting. Although I remember for a little while wanting, I wasn't allowed to tell people yet because the cast didn't know, and they were still going to cast some other roles, and so they were like, "Don't tell people." I still told a lot of people anyway. But I remember there was a time when I was thinking, all I want to do is tell people that I have this job and then not have to do it because it seems really challenging and I feel a little intimidated. So there was definitely for a while, I was like, oh, I'm thrilled that I have this job, uh, but I'm scared to do it. Then I started just committing myself to learning the material because Patrick Marber, again, director, was saying I would take a look at the big speeches, see if you could get the big speeches down. And I said, Patrick, I'm going to show up on day one of rehearsal and I will have the entire play down. I'm telling you that because I think it's the only way I can play this role. Like I have to be utterly prepared so that I can start working the acting and not be worried the
About
first
like,
2 weeks of 3 weeks of rehearsal about whether I know the lines. So then I just threw myself into really preparing on my own. Flew to New York, started rehearsals. First week, I thought, wow, I'm way ahead of the game. Like I do know the entire play. All of a sudden, the second week, I was like, oh no, I'm starting soon, and I feel really unprepared and behind. And having seen the play by that point many times, I was like, this cast is so good. And I started feeling imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? How did I get this role? Do I really belong in this ensemble? And then somewhere around the third week, I started feeling like Patrick and the associate director, Deanna Weiner, had helped me so much and prepared me that I felt like I was prepared. Then my first performance, I got the bombshell news that the playwright Tom Stoppard, Sir Tom Stoppard, would be at my first performance, and that was just like, no, why my first performance? Uh, I hope he knows that like it may be performance 175 of the rest of the cast, but it'll be my first preview. I hope he was very lovely. It went well, although it was in the way that all first performances I find are also kind of terrifying and an out of body experience. But I felt it went pretty well. And with each subsequent, and I've only done 16 performances now, but with each subsequent performance, I feel like a greater ownership and settling into the role. And I'm thrilled that I have another 100 plus shots at it because that's one of the nice things about theater is it's the same material every night, but you find new things and you get something new from an actor in a scene that you hadn't before and you have to react to it. And so it's a constant challenge and learning situation.
I know I love it because it's always evolving, which is why I always tell people to go see plays more than once because you'll go and like you could hear something and then like you'll go back and it's changed and you're like, "This is
Absolutely.
weird," but it's like such an evolving process. So it's like the first, like if you went in previews and like a lot of journalists go for previews, but if you went to like week one and you went on the last week, it could almost be like a bunch of relatively different scenes just based off of all of you guys connecting
That
as a
is absolute. That is absolutely true. Things strengthen and deepen, and it is interesting to see a play more than once. I enjoyed that experience.
And then what is like also working? This is a huge cast. This is like
Huge.
8, 40 people, something like that, like all
Yeah.
together, and with a huge age range because there's younger,
It's
there's a
so
young,
much fun that there are
and
kids
then
in this play. There are kids who are, I guess, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's so much fun because they're just like amazing, upbeat, positive balls of energy, and they're hilarious and they're talented. And there's a moment where the play is largely done for most of us, while the last three actors are really bringing home the final important, powerful scene, and we're waiting in the wings for a last little sort of a little flashback, and then the bow, the curtain call, and one of the young actors in the cast. Her name is Reese. She and I have and she has this with other people too, like a separate, a particular handshake that we do, and we try to add a little thing to it each performance. So it is so much fun to be around young kids. My kids are 20 and 25, so I'm enjoying the thrill of. I guess I feel like this is what it's like to be a grandpa.
I know, and like what is amazing to me too is that the material is so much material, but these younger kids, and again, like the clips that I've kind of got to see, have these young kids. I mean, doing full out scenes, being funny, being serious. So I mean, it's a lot to put on someone young. So I mean, it's such a talented cast. Like to see somebody that's at such a younger age like hitting it, you know what I mean? Like hitting their marks,
Yeah,
hitting their notes, and like just nailing it with the rest of you that are seasoned and adults and have done this. You know what I mean? Like it's just a really amazing thing to see.
yeah, I'm very, very impressed by this cast, and apparently today is World Theater Day, so I'm particularly proud today to be part of the ensemble that is Leopoldstadt.
So, what is one thing that you would want for someone to, if they came to the play, what is one thing that you'd want them or hope that they would take away from it? Like a lesson learned or something,
Yeah,
that they could walk away.
yeah. I mean, I'm usually not a lesson learned kind of guy, although I have a probably good answer for that for this one. I mean, usually my base thing to say is to feel something that you were presented with characters that you were invested in, and to leave the theater and just saying, I felt dot 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 whatever it is you felt, but I felt. Hopefully not bored or tired, like, but I felt something based on the play you have just witnessed. But I mean, if I had to say a lesson, I think it would be just to question always feelings of complacency and realize that never again it can happen.
Such a good answer. I know, and it's such a good play, and I know. So it's running. You guys have it pushed back because I think I had a different date initially, but I think in my
Yeah,
notes are
we got extended through July 2nd. We
second,
play
right?
8 shows a week. We're only off on Mondays. And yeah, I really encourage people to come out and see it.
Which also we should say that we are not filming this on a Monday, which means that you have a show today. So you're
That's
talking
true.
and doing a full interview when you have a show that you have to do later
Well,
today.
it's funny. I, when I was rehearsing, it was just, I mean, almost all day, every day. It's just a very intense thing to prepare for a role like this in a play like this. And then I thought, oh, when I get to performances, except for matinee days, Wednesday and Saturday, I'll have all day to do fun things, and then I'll just roll into the theater at 6 and get ready to do the play. And then I find that most of my days off I spend resting, trying to get ready again and get my concentration and my will together to do the play again. Like it's hard not to stay focused on this thing that is only 2 hours and change at the end of the night, but it takes a tremendous amount of energy and focus. And that's one of the things I enjoy about the challenge of it.
Well, I mean, it's heavy, so that makes sense. You might be like a little tired, and then also
Yeah,
it's
I've been
hard
warned. I've
work.
been warned by people and by the director and others in the people in the play that it's not to like say like, oh, this is some what a noble thing or difficult thing I'm doing, because acting is a lot uh, easier of a job than many things I can think of. But it is physically and emotionally demanding to do this play 8 times a week.
Yeah, I mean, doing anything 8 times a week for 2 hours, I think is emotionally demanding. Like, I give you guys so much credit because I've seen plays where, like, even where it's a monologue kind of situation where an actor comes out and just does a monologue for an hour, they walk out, another actor comes out, does it, and I'm just like my mouth just drops 'cause I'm like, "Oh my gosh," and, like, not only was it so good and I walked out and it was amazing, but I'm like, they have to do this again, and then they do it again and again and again, like, multiple times throughout the whole week with usually, like, a day off, like, 1 black day or, like, sometimes, 2 if you're lucky, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm
a
not
lot.
I'm not gonna say that I'm overworked when there are days where I work for 3 hours, so I'm not gonna make that claim. I will
No, but
just
it's
say
I
that
think it's a
it
lot
is
of work. It is a lot of
challenging and
work,
a lot of
though.
fun. It's a particular kind of challenge.
Okay.
And maybe ultimately it's easier than working in an office for 8 hours a day, so I don't wanna be one of those actors who's like, "You have no idea how difficult it is." I don't wanna be that guy.
Well, I can say it for you. I think it's a lot of work.
Alright, I appreciate
A lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I've seen what it looks like. I've been lucky to be able to go behind the scenes and see kind of what it is and be there at the beginning when everyone's practicing and has their scripts out and kind of marking. It's a lot. And then it's constantly changing. And although
Yeah.
that's fun, it's a lot to play off of and move. And then there's an audience and you're only as good as the last play. Like one of my friends that's a actor always says that, like, we're only as good as the last one, so he's hard on himself, like if he's didn't step in the right spot or didn't do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm only as good as the last night, and I'm like, yeah, but we don't know that. Like when we saw it, it still was good. Like I don't know that you were in the wrong spot. And so it's just things like that, I think, that come into people's brains. But um I think, like I said, you're a very humble, sweet, amazing human being, but I could
Thank
say
you.
it's a shit ton of work that you're putting into it.
You're nice to say.
It's heavy material, and I give you a lot of credit for doing it, and that you have 100 plus more shows to go, which
I'm
is,
so excited.
but I'm
I feel
excited.
jealous of my castmates who have gotten to do it for so much longer.
I'm so excited for people to see it. So they can buy tickets. I wrote down. So the website is the leopoldstateplay.com. So I should probably spell it out.
Yes. Good idea.
www.leopoldstadt play.com. You can also find it in the description below. So you can click on the link and buy tickets. Please go buy tickets.
There also are ways to get more inexpensive or discounted tickets. There's a Leopoldstadt lottery, if you Google that, where you can put in for, and I don't know how many a day, but a certain number per performance, cheaper tickets. You can walk up to the box office an hour or 2 hours before a performance and say, hey, do you have any rush tickets? And you might be able to get a ticket for $30 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly what it is, but I mean, there are ways to get around what can be sometimes a prohibitive amount of money to see a play.
Yeah, and there's also, like you had mentioned it too, the Ticket Center, which is in New York City. Most people will know what I'm talking about. It's a big red building with a big sign, and you can wait there, and a lot of people wait there for tickets last minute and same day sometimes, especially if you go alone, it's usually easier. If you go with two people, you don't mind that you're not sitting together. You can
I've done it.
I've done it too.
I'll wait online. I waited online in the cold, cold, cold to get a ticket to see the musical Kimberly Akimbo that night, and it was great. And I went alone, and I had the time of my life.
Yeah, I've got alone so many times, and I love it. And I usually meet people that are like sitting next to me, and I just start talking, and we all have.
Something special about a theater crowd.
Yeah, and everyone's like super nice, and during intermission, we're all kind of discussing like what we saw. So I highly
I like
recommend.
that.
But if there's two of you, sometimes it might be harder to get a ticket. But if you're okay sitting separately, you're gonna be fine, and you'll get
Yeah,
something that will probably be in your range, and you can go. But I highly recommend going to see this play. I have plans. I've already looked at dates, so hopefully I will be there.
wonderful.
At the end, if you hear someone scream your name, that's me.
I will wave and say,
When I come. But I want to congratulate you. And then just really quickly, are you going to be playing a district attorney again? I heard rumors. I don't know if
you
that's
did?
not.
Nothing that I know. I would
Oh,
like
okay.
to.
I heard
Maybe they're going to
something.
reboot Scandal and bring me back as a ghost. I'm in. I'll sign. I'll do it.
I heard something about like a new project that, like, with your name attached, that you might be like a district attorney again, but I wasn't sure if that
Hmm.
was.
Probably I was just trolling somebody on Twitter and pretending that I had an exciting new project coming. If there
Okay,
is one, I'm unaware of it.
we'll manifest a new project
Okay.
for you after the
Thank
play.
you.
But okay, so everyone go see the play. And I wanted to ask you too one final question for
Sure.
fans that love you, like me, that have watched everything that you've ever been in, that psychotically make treks for 4 hours to go see you in a play in California when I was out there, and
Appreciate it.
in New York to come see you. Is there anything that you want to say to them? Because they obviously don't get to talk with you like I do. And when I posted, I was talking to you, a massive amount of questions and love that,
Oh,
like,
that's so nice.
was like very overwhelming. So I was like, I can't even ask him questions because I feel bad because I won't get to everybody, or even close. But there was a ton of love on social media for you, and a ton of love for, I mean, so many people mentioned multiple projects. A lot of people mentioned the play. A lot of people are going. So I just wanted to ask you kind of if there's anything that you would want to say to fans that don't get to talk to you like I do.
Sure. I mean, I guess what I want to do is express my deep appreciation. I still have trouble imagining that that I have fans like that who aren't my parents or related to me or friends of mine. So when people come and they're West Wing fans, will come by the stage door after Leopoldstadt and they'll do the signal, which means things are good and it's a reference to a particular episode. Like, it makes my day. Like, I hope that people show me tremendous gratitude. Um, Even though I feel like I'm doing a job, I'm getting paid for it. I'm trying to make a living. I'm not giving a gift to people in the audience. I feel like fans give a gift to the actors and people who put on plays and do TV shows. So I guess then the main thing I would say to people is, if I don't express it often enough, I'm sorry, but I'm deeply, deeply grateful that anybody would come see something because I'm involved in it, or would stay after to say kind words. Because there are always people who hate me too, but they don't stick around the stage door to say you were terrible. So it's only the nice people and the kind people and the people with a nice word to say, except on social media, people say horrible things there. But I appreciate it when people stay around and have something to say about what they saw.
Well, I don't think that anyone says anything horrible about you, but um, yes, there's a lot of fans. So
Oh, Google me. People say plenty of horrible things about me.
it's
It's just part of the. It's
no,
part of the business. It
I
comes
was gonna
with
say
it.
it's part of the job. I'm sure, like if I Googled
It
myself
is.
later, I'm sure it comes up, but I'm not gonna do it. But I just find you fascinating and amazing. And I
Nice.
want to ask you just one final question because I just think I'm just so fascinated by you. And I'm so excited because sometimes you love someone and you see a ton of their work and like they don't meet your expectations. And like, obviously I'm not going to say it on an interview or whatever, but like you like exceeded my total expectation. Like you're just like the sweetest, nicest. Like I
I
said,
appreciate you saying that. That's very kind. I really
it gets me like
appreciate it.
very
And this has
excited.
been a fun, great conversation. You
And
ask
like, well,
excellent
and it just
questions.
gets me so excited. And I just think, and it just makes me so happy for you because when someone really loves it, and like I said, it shows, and I do a lot of interviews where it doesn't show, when it shows and they're excited, I get excited, I get more amped up, I'm like louder and crazier, you're like louder, and then I'm like, they deserve everything and anything. Like, so you deserve all of the money in the world, all of the stuff that you're getting. I know you won't agree because you're very humble, but you deserve everything that you've ever been given
Well,
and more.
you're very kind to say that. I appreciate it.
But my kind of final question, and as I ask this a lot to people, so I always get interesting answers. If like so starting as of today, 5 years from now, where would you hope to kind of be in, whether it's your career, personally, whatever you kind of feel comfortable answering, but like 5 years from now,
Well,
where would you like to be?
personal life, hopefully having adventures with my wife that were impossible when the kids were at home. I mean, those were wonderful years too. But like as empty nesters, enjoying our time together and traveling and just enjoying life. Professionally, at least right now, I'm hoping I'm going to do more theater. Like maybe this is the you're old now, act three part of my career, where I can return to theater, where I can um, explore the aspect of acting that originally excited me so much. So I'm not going to turn away from TV. And if somebody has got a great part for me in a movie or a television series, I want to continue doing that kind of work. But I'm hoping that I'll be doing more theater 5 years from now.
Okay, so 5 years from now, we'll be seeing you basically everywhere again.
I hope so.
TV and
I
theater.
also hope very much to be alive 5 years from now. I should maybe set the bar lower, not worry about traveling and theater, and I would like
How
to
about
be alive.
breathing?
Yeah, breathing exactly in a world that has not destroyed itself.
I agree. I hope that too. I hope I'm breathing in a nice, happy, content world.
Yes, let's wish that for all of us.
Well, like I said, I've enjoyed this so much. I know you have a show. I appreciate you taking time out because I
Of
would
course.
be dead to sleep on that couch. So I appreciate you talking with me, going over everything. Like I said, there'll be a link in this, so you guys can just click on the link. I'll put additional information of other places you can get tickets if you're not from New York, and you might not be aware of some other places. So I'll put some little hints in there for you guys for ways to get tickets. But please go see this play. And I just, like I said, I just want to thank you and break a leg tonight because you're
Thank you so much. I
on.
appreciate it. I really enjoyed talking to you. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you. Like I said, you're an amazing human being. So easy and so much fun.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you so much and break a leg tonight.
Thanks.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Joshua Malina talk about his career and how it's led him back to theater and also his love of television, of course. Josh's first performance in the play was March 14th, and it has been extended through to July 2nd of 2023 by popular demand. The play features an enormous cast with 38 people in total, ranging in ages and generations. So if you're interested, make sure you go and get tickets More information can be found by visiting www.leopoldstadt.com. That's www.leopoldstadtplay.com for tickets and more information. And make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts, and head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content.